The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. I'll ask the children with us this morning to pay close attention to the Gospel, because this is the week I'm going to invite you up to the sanctuary so we can all discuss what Jesus is trying to teach us. Jesus journeyed to a city called Nain, and his disciples and a large crowd were with him. As he drew near to the gate of the city, a man who had died was being carried out, the only son of his mother, and she was a widow. A large crowd from the city was with her. When Jesus saw her, he was moved with pity for her and said to her, "Do not weep." He stepped forward and touched the coffin. At this the bearers halted, and he said, "Young man, I tell you, arise." The dead man sat up and began to speak, and Jesus gave him back to his mother. Fear seized them all, and they glorified God, exclaiming, "A great prophet has arisen in our midst, and God has visited his people." The report about him spread through the whole of Judea and in all the surrounding region. The Gospel of the Lord. Let's take just a moment to pray to the Holy Spirit for each other. Now I invite all the children with us to please come up, have a seat on the sanctuary stairs so we can talk about what Jesus is teaching us this week. Good morning. I don't think anybody's going to be able to guess what's in here this week, but it has something to do with the gospel. Does anybody want to take a wild guess?
Touching someone?
Well, you're pretty close, actually. It's what the priest uses when someone is sick or dying to touch them and to help to heal them. It's called the sacred oils. This little thing I keep in my glove compartment in my car all the time. And then there's this little book that has the prayers for those who are sick or dying that I keep in my glove compartment all the time. And whenever I get a call that someone is sick or dying, I take that with me and we do one of the sacraments, which is called the sacrament for the sick or dying. People used to think it was just for those who were dying that you had to do it at the last minute. But anytime someone's sick, it helps them to heal. But sometimes people don't get healed physically, do they? We're made up of body and soul. So sometimes when I anoint someone and they don't get better physically, what do you think is happening? What guess?
They get better inside.
Yes, spiritually. That's very good. Spiritually they get better, and sometimes that's what they need more than physical healing, is spiritual healing. So sometimes when we think somebody's died and we anointed them, well, why didn't it work? It may have worked because maybe they were ready to go to the next life, and spiritually they were healed. Why do you think Jesus brought that boy in the gospel back to life? Yes?
Because he didn't want him to die.
He didn't want him to die. That's exactly right. And why didn't he want him to die? Yeah?
Because his mother would be sad.
Excellent. Because his mother would be sad. And actually, in Jesus' day, it was even worse than that. Because that was the woman's only son. And women in Jesus' day weren't respected at all. If you didn't have a son or a husband, you had no income and you had no status. Nobody respected you. Thank God those times have changed. But Jesus knew when he saw that woman crying, he said, "Don't cry." He knew that she couldn't go on without his son, and so he raised the boy back to new life. He did something else that people couldn't believe. When he touched the coffin, can anybody tell me what a coffin is? Yeah. Yeah, it's the box they put you in to bury you when you're dead. And actually, in Jesus' day, if you touched a coffin, you were considered unclean, and you couldn't touch or do anything else. So Jesus was taking a big chance when he touched that coffin and brought that boy back to new life. So are any of you afraid of death? Yeah, why are we afraid of that? Yeah.
Because you would lose your family.
Yes, because you'll miss your family, yeah.
You'll miss everything.
Yes, but when that happens, we can't forget that we're actually still with our family because we're up there watching down on them and taking care of them. So those who've gone before us are actually watching over us. They're like angels. They're with us all the time. So we can still talk to them. So we don't need to be afraid, even though it's scary, because we don't like to suffer. We don't like to see people die. But we have to remember that they're always still with us, watching over us. Do you think maybe Jesus might have done that because he was thinking what was going to happen at his own death and who was going to be hurting when he died? His mother, exactly. So Jesus was probably thinking when this happens to him, how hurt his mother was going to be. So he didn't want that little boy's mother to hurt either. So he tried to take away her pain. Now someday, Jesus is going to call each of us and call each of us from this life to the next life. Is that anything to be afraid of? Why not?
Because then you get to see him.
Exactly. That's what we're put here for. To get to the next life, to see Jesus, and then one day we're all going to be back there together celebrating. But we have to remember till then that those people before us are watching over us and taking care of us. And we have to always be ready in case Jesus would call us. So how can we always be ready? Yeah.
By praying.
By praying every day. Anything else?
By going to Mass.
By going to Mass, yeah. Anything else? By being kind to one another. And at the end of each day, think about what you did wrong and asking Jesus to forgive you so that we're always ready. So just remember, death is nothing to be afraid of. We just have to always be ready in case Jesus calls us to be with the rest of the angels. Thank you all very, very much.